Alicia is, the way she works, I can so relate. We have a lot of similarities between the two of us and how we operate, how our brains operate. I, of course, have known Alicia for a long time, like literally since, I don't know, since I had moved here, 3rd grade. I was in 3rd grade. You guys were babies. I'm looking at my sister because that's one of her close friends. Okay, so since I was 8, I'm 42 and a half, for those of you wondering. I feel every damn moment of those 42 and a half years. So I spent most of my years knowing Alicia as Alicia Hoagie, okay? And she was my neighbor. She lived in my neighborhood growing up. She, in good old East Lansing, Michigan, go green. I used to pick her up. So once I got my license, it was like a super big deal, right? Because then I could like haul all the people in the neighborhood to and from all the places. So my dad bought me a red convertible with a white top. And like, we were poor basically, so don't anybody get excited. I don't even know where he found the red convertible. Like, Mons, you remember the red convertible? Yeah. It carried me all the way to MSU. Yes, it did. So I picked her up and we ran cross country together. So we were runners, right? So I picked her up for high school cross country practice in my red convertible with the white top and the bare naked lady sticker, bumper sticker on the back, BNL. If I had $1 million. I won't do that though, because that song actually isn't that good. So we would rock out to music, especially Eye of the Tiger. Yeah, Eye of the Tiger. We get all like pumped up, you know. We would also, though, sneak out of our houses in the middle of the night and looking at Alicia's dad right now. All the time. And we would like fork people's lawns and like toilet paper their trees, and we may or may not have smeared peanut butter on their front doors. I don't know, super bad. I guess, I don't know. I don't regret any of it, not one moment. I gotta remember that when my own kids are doing that, but there are so many incredible things about this human being, and I'm not gonna do her justice. She needs to be up here in front of you. She's so prepared, she's so ready, but I wanna share with you my very favorite thing about her. And I really think that this has been my favorite thing about her all the years. And that is just one word, grit. Grit. Those of you that know her, grit. Alicia Long will set you straight, okay? She'll set your ass straight. She's been up and down more than one mountain. She's been over and under and through all the moments of her life. And although she prides herself on being a forever student, she is a boss. This is an example, there are very few people, I've never even admitted this, who walk this planet that can give me, Sarah Person, a directive and know that I will not only think about it, but I'll follow through with it. And she is one of those people. Her grit is inspiring and contagious, and that is exactly what she's going to do tonight. She's going to grit her way through her journey of purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the gritty, the sassy, badass straight shooter, Mrs. Alicia Long. She wants you to hear some of this song, people. She wants you to hear it. She wants you to feel it. She wants you to pay attention tonight. Yeah.
but I ain't got wings. This wasn't a part of the show. Alright, let's do it. It's the hardest thing. With good old days.
I told her she could do whatever the fuck she wanted to do.
May not return.
Apparently, I'm up for anything.
Let's see may burn. I'm learning to fly. Hallelujah. I ain't got wings. I ain't got wings. Coming down. It's the hardest thing. Woo! Okay, should we be done now or should we keep going? We'll spin. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The show is over. The bar is open. Thank you for indulging that.
Yes, I'm so happy you're here, girlfriend.
Thank you. Is it me? Am I on now?
You're on.
I'm on.
You're on.
Okay.
It's you.
Okay, perfect. That wasn't planned. Organic and perfect. So thank you guys all for being here so much. This whole freaking experience, I can't even really put into words. Sarah asked me in October. Was it October that you asked me to do this?
August.
Okay. A long time ago, she asked me to do this. And Sarah and I both operate last minute. For those of you that know me, under pressure, thrive under pressure. If you give me too much time to think about something, it's usually not a good thing, usually. But in this case, it was a very good thing. And this entire speak experience has done so many amazing things for me. I started a book 20 years ago and I picked it back up. I started writing it because of Sarah. And because of you asking me to do this. And thank you for all those beautiful things you said about me. I'm really glad you shared the red convertible story because that's, I think, my favorite Sarah person story. I was a freshman and she was a senior, so how cool are you if a senior is driving you to school, right? Yes, totally. She's funny, right? She's funny, absolutely. So anyways, I'm gonna just say thank you. Thank you all for being here. And thank you also, as I share my story, I am gonna read it, but it'll also be very engaging. So I don't wanna just stand up here and read to you, but that's how it helps me to get my purpose and my message across. So, are we ready? All right, can you guys hear me okay? Because I know there's some distracting noises. Okay, I'm pretty loud. I'm a pretty loud person. My yogis know that, right, yogis? Yeah, okay. So I would imagine it was a hot and sunny day, as most days are in Arizona. Children all over the world were waking up to Easter baskets filled with sparkly painted eggs and chocolate bunnies. Families were getting dressed in their Sunday best and ushering into church. But my parents were at Luke Air Force Base that morning having a baby. Hi, Dad. Having me. Sunny side up, that's the truth. Sunny side up on Easter Sunday. That's how I was born. Facing the world, ready to take on whatever came my way. Giving my first offering with eyes wide open. I mention this moment because it seems incredibly significant to my purpose. The very act of birth is purposeful for every single one of us. But being born on a holiday that's rooted in resurrection feels a little extra to me. It's always felt like I was somehow tapped into my purpose. That's the truth. Well, this is all the truth. None of it's a lie. Okay, just so that's clear. Just like you feel your heartbeat or the tingling in your fingers when they fall asleep, it's that kind of feeling. Jeannie knows. It's energy and it's connection. Denise knows. It's been obvious to me in small ways throughout my entire life. And so when Sarah asked me to speak, which I'm so honored to do, speaking about purpose felt right. From the minute I was asked to be a part of Speak Storytelling, I knew that I had to say this, and so I will say it. My story is no more important than yours. And yours, and yours, and yours, and yours. Let me repeat that. My story is no more important than yours. No more challenging, no more heartbreaking, no more joyful, no more impactful. We are all connected through our stories. We see each other through storytelling. We begin to relate and empathize and understand when we share stories. And so please don't think for 1 second that your story is not worthy of sharing. It is so worthy of sharing. Your story matters more than you can even fathom. Your story, your truth, your traumas, your failures, your freaking fears, right? Those doubts, those damn doubts, those triumphs, they matter so, so much. And for those of you that have been in my life for a long time, you might remember parts of my story differently. And that's okay, because this is my truth, through my lens, through my experiences. And thank you for being here to hear it. Recently, I was watching the movie Wonder with my boys. Such a great movie. If you haven't seen the movie Wonder. And it's written from the perspective of Augie, and Augie has facial deformities. It's a good movie for kids too. Like, I don't know, I guess my 6-year-old and my 4-year-old kind of understood it a little bit. So because of the depths of Augie's challenges, his issues made him the center of his parents' universe. And his sister, whose name was Via, I believe, was kind of pushed aside a little bit because Augie had such incredible issues to deal with. But I really like what the director decided to do midway through the movie. He flipped it to her side of the story, and you got to hear her version of the story. And I feel like for every experience we live through, there's multiple versions, right? So what you went through, your husband may describe very differently from his lens. So there's these different angles. It's multidimensional, and that's the beauty of storytelling. You are the author of your story, and how you see it is completely up to you. I have a million moments that I could stand up here and share with you all. Life is filled with so many chapters, and for that I'm grateful, because some chapters, whoa, right? Like, holy shitballs. Right? You all know what I'm talking about. Some chapters are like, why did I have to go through that chapter? What? Hello? Right? But listen up. It's all part of your purpose. It's all part of your story. Don't be ashamed of it. It's a part of your story, guys. The bigger picture of your life encompasses, and I'm going to put this on a quote on Instagram, so get ready, because it's going on the Insta. The bigger picture of your life encompasses the sun, the moon, the stars, the planet, the before, the after, the here, the now, and the next. Okay? For me, thank you, whatever, no. For me, I can only tap into the first decade of my life through pictures and my parents sharing stories. As I was writing this, I tried to close my eyes and go to the depths of memory to find something, anything about ages 1 to 10, but nothing was there. The vault was closed. I can see the beginning years of my life through pictures and piece together fond memories, time with my grandparents, the playground with my brothers, Christmas presents wrapped in handmade paper, bike rides to the Lansing peanut shop with my dad. But I'm not sure if those memories are from VHS videos, photos, or actual memories. I remember getting chicken pox with my mom, or when my mom buying me chocolate shakes and a stuffed animal. I can recall a time when my mom cut up hot dogs and macaroni and cheese for my brothers. I remember my dad delivering pizzas when he needed extra money, and we gave him an alter ego name and called him Rex. Like what? That's weird. I don't know. But I remember it. Like, your memory is weird sometimes, right? So maybe one day I'll remember my younger years, but for now, the memories that are etched in my brain start at age 10. So show of hands, put your hands up. What age were you for your first memory? 2. Wow. For real? That is amazing. 6, 4, 3, 5, 4. So under 10. That's really cool. We need to look into the psychology of that. 10? You were 10? After 10. Well, at least I'm not alone, sister. Thank you. That's okay, put her down for next week. Okay, you're in. Okay, age 10, that's what I'm gonna call this chapter. 5th grade, Wardcliff Wildcats. Laura Van Dam, are you listening? Oh, wait, we have another Wildcat? Yay! Laura Muncie in the house. 4 Wardcliff Wildcats. Hi! So, you guys, so fun. So, best friend Laura Van Dam, right here in the front row since kindergarten. We would rollerblade to each other's houses and share the essence of childhood together. Tire swing in my front yard, dog named Rocky, big backyard with a makeshift tree fort. My mom was at home, had an in-home daycare. My dad was a chemist, and still is. Typical Western world childhood stuff. But then, the tree. Can you guys all hear me still? Okay, just making sure, because I know there's some background noise. The tree. It was a typical day at our house. My dad was doing yard work and decided to cut some tree branches down. He shouted for my mom to help him, and she ran to assist. The tree branch slipped, hit the ground, bounced up, and hit my mother in the nose. I think her nose broke. I remember a Band-Aid, I remember trauma, I remember stitches, I remember pain. And the incident unleashed a whole mess of memories in my mom that she was not able to deal with. She was not ready to deal with. The impact of the tree knocked loose childhood abuse that haunts my mother to this very day. It literally rocked the core of her being. This is a poem that I wrote in middle school about the tree. The tree. I remember the day so clearly I could almost reach out and touch it. Touch the moment that changed our lives. Mom at home, a place of isolation and consistency too thick for her liking. Dad at work, money troubles and failed plans. A tree in the backyard, it was dying, it needed to be cut. There my parents stood, ready to cut down this sad tree. The branch fell, it hit my mom in the face. My mom fell and was never the same. Everything became a blur. That tree in my backyard, I don't think it was ever completely ever torn down. It still stands, but just a part of it's missing. Each one of my family members might tell this story differently because we experience moments in different ways. We internalize, we deal with, and we shake off memories in completely different ways. Okay, so think of something impactful in your life. Think about who was there. So everybody think about, you can close your eyes, something impactful in your life. Think about who was there. Think about how that memory affected each person differently. I believe that is all part of our purpose as well. The path we take and the coping mechanisms used after impact are directly related to purpose. The path we take and the coping mechanisms used after impact are directly related to purpose. We all react differently to the same situation that might have happened in our life, is kind of what I'm trying to say. The trajectory of what unraveled after my mom was hit in the nose by the tree is a book in itself. Remember that book I mentioned? Maybe like 2021, we'll see. I'll let you know. The best way to help you understand is to read a letter to you that my mom wrote to me from jail. Alicia, the last 14 years after being hit by the tree are over, but it was definitely an atrocious lifestyle, a sad, dirty, drug-induced reality, which is no place anyone would want to be. I'm having a hard time writing to you right now because I'm so happy that we hung tight to our mother-daughter relationship. You and your brothers were what I would ask God for strength for, and to never lose hope. There are still moments I feel unworthy to be your mother. There is a lot of mending to do, and even though we made it, I know that you have had emotional issues. I pray that God will bring you light. You commented on the way I looked at you the other day through the glass window, and I was feeling that same intense love that I had for you since the day you were born. I don't know if my love for my children is more than most mothers, but I do know there is no deeper feeling on God's earth. I have to wonder sometimes how many unsaid words you have to say to me. You have endured a lot, and I have to think of the word persevere when I imagine the challenges of doing adult jobs as a young girl. If it doesn't kill you, it will make you stronger, is what I like to think. I sat down with the intention of writing from a deeper part of me, but it just hurts too much. I want for you to believe in me again. I know that it's hard because I've failed you so many times. I just want to hug you, and I feel like this sad little girl inside. I'm not running for this, but I'm going to go do 50 laps around the day room to keep from drowning in my tears. I am afraid to let people know the real me, the real thoughts that are complicated, and I would tell you if I felt sure that you wouldn't think less of me. It's hard enough to hold on to myself as it is, and I'm not even sure what's going on in my head part of the time. The problem with mental illness and addiction is to have it in the first place. Addictions don't just go away, but neither do chemical imbalances without proper medication and proper treatment. After the tree incident, the therapist wanted to put me into a residential setting for 6 months. The more tragedies and trauma a person experiences, the more progressive multiple personalities can become. I wish that I would have gone, and I wish that I could have just been gone for 6 months instead of 14 years. Everything I had, everything I loved, I would have done anything in the world for my family. Yet I was being pulled in the direction it was going to ruin me, ruin all of us. God uses whatever experiences it takes to bring you to the end of yourself. Can you imagine getting a letter like that? Talk about a mother's love, right? A mother's... She's human. We all go through some shit. That's for sure. Now, you're probably wondering, whoa, back up. Your mom got hit in the nose by a tree. Why was she in jail? She got hit in the nose by a tree. Why did she go to jail? Well, she was hit in the nose by a tree. She didn't commit a crime, but that's part of the tragic, beautiful story, my friends. We make choices when the shit hits the fan, and sometimes those choices, those coping mechanisms, have deep, deep consequences. And jail was a consequence for her of how she dealt with her head injury, her addictions, her mental illness. Skipping a page. We doing okay out there? Okay. So my memories, going back to my memories of like 10 to 20, I guess, kind of looks like this. I tucked my brothers in and I took care of the dinner dishes. I sat back exhausted. I remember looking at those pathetic wooden fixtures like it was yesterday. There were no doors on the cupboards at all. The kitchen was a neglected project, left unfinished and filled with mismatched dishes, and one old box of Trix cereal. The wallpaper next to the table was rubbed off, and the longer you stared at the kitchen, the more it started to look like a work of art. That's when I decided it wasn't a dingy, unfinished kitchen, it was a work of art. I went and I sat outside on the porch for a while, and I started to wonder where my mother would be. I looked over at her beer can on the steps, and I felt so empty. I picked up her beer can, and I asked it why. Why did you make my mother change? When it didn't answer me, I got mad, and I threw the beer can as far as I possibly could, and I sat down to cry, and I felt the peanut butter and jelly sandwich in my stomach rumble. I remember how good it felt last week to throw up my dinner, and how great of a release it was to get rid of those tacos. I was sick of thighs that rubbed when I ran in grandma underwear. I wanted to wear sexy thongs and have a gap in my thighs like the supermodels that you see on TV. I wanted to look good in a bikini. I yearned to be as bone thin as possible. I figured maybe throwing up my food would help me reach these goals. And so I did. I went up to my bedroom. I had my own little bathroom, and my best friend helped me sponge paint. It was purple and white. It had one of those lights that you pull. I knelt down, I stuck my finger down my throat, and I released my whole day into the toilet. It felt so good to be at peace for that split moment. Throwing up was the one true thing that made me feel relieved. The universe was at peace. Maybe being skinny would make me invisible. We didn't have a car that week because my mom had taken it and she was God knows where. She hadn't come back in 3 days. We didn't know where she was. My dad at home with us doing the very best he could. He would get home late from work and make spaghetti. He made a lot of spaghetti. My brothers played Nintendo in the playroom and I went for a late night run. Maybe I could run off dinner instead of throwing it up this time. When I got home from my run, my mom was sitting in the living room in an old t-shirt eating spaghetti. I wanted to ask her where the van was, but I already knew the answers because the people she was hanging out with would do anything for money. And that's a part of addiction too. It's an ugly part of addiction, chasing the money. So seeing her sitting in that chair, I left the room and I went to take a shower and I threw up whatever was left of dinner to gain some sense of relief. By age 15, I was well on my way to saving the world. Trying to raise my brothers, understand my mom's disease, cope with an eating disorder, help my dad, figure out who I was. My brain was a mix of reasons, explanations, guesses, questions, and theories. It's hard enough to be 15 and the weight of the world was heavy. When I was 18 years old, I was still throwing up. It might have been the peak of my bulimia. Unless you actually have the disorder, it's kind of impossible to understand it. There are times in college I couldn't get myself off the couch. I dreaded the person staring back at me in the mirror. I would eat pack after pack of peaches and cream oatmeal. I would throw it up and then I would starve myself for days. I was really good at hiding bulimia because I threw up in the shower. I used to measure my throw up. It makes me sad to think of that young girl, and I want to hug her and all the things that I would tell her to do differently. My eyes are so tired, my body so still. I'm drugged with destruction on a self-conscious pill. No control over urges, no dignity to spare. When my mind is made up, I no longer care. It makes me so different, so distant, so weak. I have so many thoughts I'm unable to speak. No one to turn to, I run from myself. All of my priorities collect on a shelf. I have no concentration, I'm trapped in the shade. I feel so alone, so lost, so afraid. I wrote that poem when I was 20. I was constantly planning, sorting life, love, work, family, and writing became a release. I want to pause right here to tell you something critically important. Writing saved my life. That is written in all caps and bold. Writing saved my life. If you walk away with one thing today, I want it to be this. Start writing. Start drawing. Start connecting to your experiences and feelings in pencil or ink. Something remarkable happens when you write down what you're feeling. No matter how irrational or haunted or random. You guys, I just told you I measured my puke in the shower. That's like, you got this. Whatever you've been through, you've got this. Something remarkable starts to happen when you write down what you're feeling. No matter how irrational or haunted or random, you feel it, you write it, and then you read it back. And it's processed in your brain in a different way. We can learn so much about ourselves in writing. We can begin to process hurt and pain. We can relive joy. We can relive travels. We can relive hope. Allow your pen to become a counselor. Thank you. Author Victoria Erickson, another Insta person that I follow, wrote this, and it's so beautiful. Writing is ultimately a form for movement. Moving stagnant energy, moving grief, moving your arms and hands, moving forward, moving your heart, moving others, moving back into truth and alignment. All right, everybody put your hand on your heart. And feel that beautiful heartbeat, that breath that's in there, that breath that will take you through anything in life. Close your eyes and think about one of your favorite pictures. Okay, got it? Your favorite pictures. Now, what would you write about that picture? Okay, now, go ahead, get your journal. We're going to take a minute or two to write about that picture. And if you don't want to write, like Sarah said, if you're like, hell to the no, I'm not ready to put my pen on that paper yet, just marinate. Just sit there and breathe and marinate and be you. Okay, so I love that so many of you got out your book to write and so many of you are just kind of hanging out. It's cool. It's cool. So what just happened when you wrote that down? Did you relive joy? Did you get emotional? What happened? I want you to take that moment that you just had with yourself and recreate it. Sarah was talking about the work begins now and the work continues after. So let's not let that work go. This is the good stuff, guys. This is your freaking life, right? This is your life. This is your shot. This is your purpose. This is the good stuff. And this today, I really hope, this is where the healing begins. I really hope that. Do this more often. Do this daily. Do this weekly. Keep a notebook by your bed. Record thoughts in the notes section of your phone. I'm always like in the car, like talking into my notes section all the time. I have no less than 20 journals that I started when I was 10 years old. So it's no coincidence that I've been writing almost my entire life and I've been able to overcome an eating disorder, navigate mental illness, addiction, and find a path of purpose. Thank you. Thanks, Greg. Thank you. So get to know yourself through the little moments that erupt in your life, and I promise you'll find purpose. Purpose does not only exist in the extraordinary moments that take our breath away. Purpose is calling to you in the humble, everyday things too. So let me give you an example I ran cross country in high school. Love cross country. Whoop, whoop. I ran cross country in high school, but a big part of the reason I ran cross country in high school was to be skinny. Tess knew. If I'm being really honest, that's the truth. I would eat as little as possible, as exercise as much as possible to run from my life. Running became an adaptation to feel whole. Running felt good. It was endorphins. And so I kept running, and that led to teaching fitness in college, to crossing marathon finish lines with my husband, and falling in love with him along the way, to becoming a yoga instructor, to standing here in front of you today to say that one thing leads to the next. It's no accident that I coped with an eating disorder by writing and exercise. It led me to one of my greatest purposes so far, inspiring others through yoga, fitness, and writing. I didn't recognize this purpose at first, so for so long I thought it was just a hobby, and that's cool too. It can be a hobby, but the universe has a tricky way. She just keeps showing up. She's just gonna keep showing up, right? You said that too. The universe is a she tonight. That's right, why not? My husband brought up a great example of this when we were chatting about Speak the other week. He reminded me that water takes the path of least resistance. When water is flowing in a river, it hits a rock, it goes around it. It doesn't try to force itself to go in a particular way, it simply follows the path of least resistance. As humans, I wonder how often we would move forward more gracefully if we followed that path of least resistance, rather than trying to make things happen in a specific way. Aside from writing, therapy was also a crucial part of my healing process. I'm all for therapy. Anybody else? Big proponent of therapy. Yay, therapy! Love it, I love it. These are my people. These are my people in this room. Woo! Okay, so one of the toughest therapists that I ever saw said to me, you have to let people make their own choices. Whether you think they're good or they're bad, you have to let them choose. This came about because I mentioned the struggles with addiction in my family. I tried to gain control of my life through food and bulimia, chasing the high of endorphins after binging and purging. But my younger brothers coped with life through drugs. I am not here today to share their story. I will let them do that. But I will tell you what I learned through my experiences. The therapist continued, I think that to your brothers and your mom, drugs were actually a smart choice. They didn't want to feel, and they didn't know how to deal with trauma. So yeah, drugs were a good choice. They accomplished what they were trying to do, avoid the pain. I was a little stunned. I was super stunned by that answer. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, drugs are not a good choice. This is not a good choice. So it struck a chord with me. Sorry for the F-bomb. Anyways, I'd never thought of it this way. And it was a turning point for me. That's why I'm sharing it. Of course drugs are a bad choice. We all know drugs are a bad choice. But I'm picturing that commercial with the fried egg. This is your brain on drugs? Okay. You look confused. You haven't seen it yet. Okay, we're gonna have to show that one to you. All right. Anyways, they crack an egg in a pan and it fries, and this is your brain on drugs. All right. I didn't want to feel. I'm sorry. Okay. So we're gonna go back. Where was I? All right. So I never thought of it this way. Of course, drugs were a bad choice, but I was missing the point. Every time my brothers would use drugs, they would get a lecture from me. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. Here's what you need to do instead. I immediately went into fix-it mode. Anyone else have fix-it mode? Oh, fix-it mode. I could go my life without fix-it mode. It's an unhealthy pattern that I created in childhood. If you Google addiction and connection, you will find a famous TED Talk by Johann Hari called Everything You Know About Addiction is Wrong. He states, the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. Connection. So rather than lecture and fix my brothers, rather than lecture and fix my mom, what would happen if I plugged in and started connecting in a different way? Growing up, I always reacted the same way towards addiction. I would have fear, then I would try to fix it, and then I would fragment. So I'm calling this fear, fix it, fragment. I was afraid of drugs and alcohol and what they would do to my loved ones, rightfully so. It rips apart your family. So I would fix it. I would try, use keyword, I would try and fix it. And if my job of fixing them didn't work, then I would pull away and I would fragment. I would then feel like a failure, and I would try to work through all the baggage that comes with loving an addict. Could we do a whole chapter on loving an addict? Woo! Holy crap. Rinse, recycle, and repeat over and over again. But what if instead of fixing addicts, which can never be done, by the way, right? Can never be done. We started to connect and asked questions like, when did you first start using drugs? Who were you with? Why did you decide to try them? What does it feel like? What does it help you run from? Why do drugs seem like a good choice or a bad choice? How have drugs impacted your life? Do you wish you could stop? Boom. Doesn't that feel like we're getting to the meat of the person? To the core, to the soul, meeting them where they are at. And the tricky part is you can't judge their answers. You can't judge their answers. We have to listen in a place where we offer no advice, no persecution, check your ego, no ego. Just listen. And then after we seek to understand, then we reply with, would it be okay if I shared my story with you? Now we're getting somewhere. Two human beings sharing stories. We all have a story to share, but we don't feel safe sharing it. We would rather live in a place of fear and shame than be open about our struggles and vulnerabilities. In order to connect, we must be willing to share pieces of ourselves. Whether it's giving a hug to a stranger at an airport or sitting down with a friend for a heart-to-heart. There's so much freedom waiting for all of us in an open meadow called connection. None of this means that loving an addict will ever be easy. So don't misconstrue that. It will never be easy. The struggle's very real, but my point is, when we start to look at addiction in a different way, when we start to look at mental illness in a different way, it shapes a healthier response. I detach myself from trying to fix the addicts in my life, allowing them to make their own choices, and not feeling responsible for what they do or don't do. The choices that we make are not the responsibility of anyone else. We get to own our shit, and that is heavy enough. Bringing this back home to purpose. Purpose doesn't have a beginning point or an ending point, just like healing is not linear. Think about the purpose of raising kids. It's a lifetime of significance. We raise them up, we raise them through, we raise them in spite of, and we raise them to uncover and seek their own purposes. Because the best teachers and parents lead their children back to themselves. Can I get an amen? That was written in my notes. And a side note, being a parent is a lot like folding a fitted sheet. Who the hell knows how to fold one of those fitted sheets? Can you teach me? Okay, because I just crumple that shit up. I just asked my husband. I just crumple that shit up. I think Maureen might know how. Mo, if you re-listen to this, I think you know how. Anyways, I don't know how, and I just crumple it, put it in. Anyways, that's how I feel like parenting is. Okay, so we are coming to the home stretch. How's everybody doing? Do we need like a wiggle break? That's what they call it in kindergarten, a wiggle break. Do we need a dance party? Melinda needs a dance party, a one-legged dance party. Okay, we'll do the dance party after. All right, let's continue on. Grab a sip of your beer, your water, whatever you need to do. It feels like I've already shared so much with you, but at the same time, I have so many more chapters and experience that shaped me into the person that I am today. Truly, one of the blessings of getting older is the realization of what's important and the ability to tune into yourself with a few more tools in your toolbox, right? Like people that say, I don't want another birthday. I'm like really excited about turning 40 in April. Bring it. Bring on the 40s, bring on the 50s, bring on the 60s, because every decade that I turn older, I'm like, whew, I can let that shit go. So I don't want to leave tonight without sharing 2 more purpose-filled chapters, so that I hope you're still along for the ride. After my youngest was born, little McCoy, I was all things that a new mom is. I was sore, I was sleep deprived, vastly needed, deeply in love, and existing with my head in the clouds. Considering I had just given birth, which is a frickin' badass warrior act, in itself, that's another amen. Postpartum is the softest and most delicate I've ever felt in my life. Any little breeze that could have taken me down during that time. I know looking back that lack of sleep was the primary reason I suffered so much during the infant stage. It put me into a state of psychosis, and I honestly thought my boys would be better off without me. I thought the world would be better off without me. I told my therapist at the time, I know how to do 1 baby, but I don't know how to do 2. She told me, you are doing it. Funny enough, that's all she had to say. You are doing it. When things are so scary and so hard, we do them anyways because we have to fight for ourselves. I remember thinking that the ocean would be a perfect exit during that time. Floating away was a peaceful option. And again, looking back is always where the lessons are, right? What I learned was that I was deeply out of alignment with my own needs. I was not listening to myself, and I had an impossible time asking for help. Listen up, my people. You have to ask and accept help. Can I bring you dinner? Yes, you can. Can I watch your kids so you can take a nap? Yes, I need that, please. Seeking support is not a sign that you've failed. Seeking support is a power move. You are exerting your power by making a conscious choice that's for your benefit. Don't go into the depths of despair just to prove to yourself that you can do it. I did it. I did that. Of course you can, but you shouldn't. Write this down. A nap is more important than thank you cards. A nap is more important than thank you cards. So I'm going to write you all thank you cards, but I'm going to take a nap first. Okay? All right, perfect. So, just like all the other obstacles of my life, I fought my way through postpartum depression, if you want to put a label on it, give a diagnosis, with a lot of yoga, reading, counseling, journaling, self-love, and a new discovery of health. I really dug deep into DNA and did just a whole screening of my health. And I'm only mentioning that because if you're at that point where you're digging deep, explore your DNA and your health and that side of it too, because the mental health is so important, but the physical health was a part of it for me as well. And if you have questions on that, I'm happy to answer them. So, real quick, a blog that I found online called Life on Purpose mentioned that self-care is not about the duration, it's about the frequency. I liked that. Self-care is not about the duration, but the frequency, how often you're self-caring. What you need are small, consistent acts of self-compassion, threaded throughout the day and weeks that make up your life. Take 3 deep breaths, a 20-minute jog, a hug, a mindful walk around the block, 10 minutes of reading, a hot cup of tea in 2 hands. Accept your flaws while challenging yourself to grow. Forgive yourself. Hold your self-worth above all else. The final chapter that I will share with you tonight began in fall 2017 when the whole world as I know it came crashing down on me. Again, right? That's life. It's like, woo! All these dips and valleys and mountains that we have to overcome. I was sitting on the floor in my bedroom with my laptop and headset on, dialing into an important Skype call. HR was on the phone, as well as my boss's boss. So obviously something big was about to go down. I was told on the call that I would no longer report to my current boss and that he was transferred to other projects. I didn't have the same team anymore, and the entire department had been realigned, and a manager that I knew very well for 6 years was robotically reading a script to me. It was icy, it was cold, and it was 100% business. So I flew to Dallas the following month for a mandatory conference, a rebranding launch, where employees came together to learn about their new roles at this company. It felt like the Hunger Games. That's what it felt like to me. It was uneasy, I felt rejected, I had a million questions, and I was told to fake it till I make it. This is incredibly hard and next to impossible to an empath. I don't know how to fake anything. What you see is what you get. So you can't really ever say to me, fake it till you make it. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I made the mistake of confiding into some friends at work, trying to talk through my feelings, and unfortunately it backfired. It's a really good lesson. My therapist will later tell me that I need to remove my rose-colored glasses and reconsider who I trust. I was looking around at dozens of people that I considered colleagues and friends, and I started questioning everything. It's a really shitty feeling to look around a room and wonder who is for you and who is against you. It's a really shitty feeling. Being an incredibly passionate person, I took my job to heart every single day. Working for a nonprofit was the perfect fit for me because I got to help people create meaningful legacies and give back to an amazing cause. I decided based on the unraveling at work that it was time to say goodbye. I accepted a job at a local nonprofit and started my new job early 2018. Walking away from a career that I loved for 13 years felt like a death. I was excited about the new opportunity, but it also came with grief. And grief can be so many things, you guys. Oh my gosh, know that. Looking back, perhaps I wasn't running to another job, but rather running away. And anytime that's the case, it's natural to think impulsively. My new boss turned out to be a complete and total dickhead. Yeah, and I'm not even gonna try to describe him eloquently. He was a complete and total dickhead. Call a spade what it is. He was and is a capital A asshole. Wow, there's some anger. There's some anger in this writing. So, that job only lasted 6 weeks. Here's how I felt. I was failing again. I was failing again. How was I failing again? I was filled with shame and fear and self-doubt and what the hell am I gonna do now? I was projecting my experiences onto my husband and I was pushing him away because I was not worthy of his love. Talk about a shitstorm of emotions. Life is unbearably messy sometimes. The tornado of changes ended up being a blessing in disguise because I got to stay home with my boys before Carden started kindergarten. However, I couldn't help but shake. I have to be doing something to be worthy. I have to be doing something to be worthy. That little devil in my brain kept telling me that I was not good enough without a title. I was not important enough without a full schedule. I was not meaningful enough without a career plan. I know now that that's complete and total bullshit, but it took a falling out to get there. I really believed those things. I really did. And for those of you that knew me during that time, I would cry at a drop of a hat. I was a mess. But we persevere, right? We persevere. Throughout the process, one thing really stuck with me. And I want you to listen. We're wrapping it up. Sometimes we have to stop in order to feel. Pause. Reflect. Let the waves crash over us. Find our breath in the undertow. It's essential for growth. And in a world that's filled with Pinterest and perfect Instagram accounts, we need to remind one another what's real. Should I say it again? In a world that's filled with Pinterest and perfect Instagram accounts, we need to remind one another what's real. We need to be okay with sharing the grimy, the crappy parts of life and allow others to be there for us and love them exactly as they are. It's impossible to connect with others if we don't connect with ourselves first. I have so many more chapters, you guys, but that is what I wrote for tonight. And there's a little bit more left for this evening's experience, but I want to just say thank you again for being here, sharing this incredible, purpose-filled evening. And I really hope that something that I said tonight resonated with you to seek your purpose as well. So I love you all. Thank you.